Dr. Do-Won Kim couldn't believe his eyes. He checked the scanner readings for the fourth time, his hands shaking as he adjusted his white lab coat. The numbers didn't lie. His team had found another intelligent species. "Send a message to the Coalition Council," he told his assistant. "Tell them it's urgent." 3 days later, Do-Won stood before the Coalition Council in their grand meeting hall. 50 alien representatives from different worlds sat in tall chairs that formed a half-circle around him. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own light. "Honorable council members," Do-Won began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "We have found a new civilization in the outer rim of the galaxy. They call their planet Earth." He pressed a button on his tablet, and a hologram of Earth appeared above their heads. The blue planet spun slowly, showing its continents and oceans. "They have achieved space travel," he continued. "They have colonies on their moon, and on the red planet they call Mars. They have sent probes to the edges of their solar system." Council Leader Vax raised one of his 4 hands. "What about their military capability?" His deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Are they a threat to the Coalition?" Do-Won pressed another button. The hologram changed to show Earth's space fleet. "This is their entire military force in space. As you can see, it's quite small." Laughter filled the council chamber. The aliens found it funny that such a tiny fleet could even exist. Some of the council members wiped tears from their eyes, or whatever passed for eyes in their species. "Small," said Council Member Trix, her antenna twitching with amusement. "That's not small, that's microscopic. My personal yacht fleet is bigger than their entire army." Do-Won waited for the laughter to die down. "There's more to report. They have approximately 8 billion individuals on their home planet." 8 billion. Council Member Rax scratched his scaly head. "With such a large population, why is their fleet so tiny?" "They seem to prefer quality over quantity," Do-Won explained. "Their ships are well built, though few in number." The council leader waved his hand dismissively. "It doesn't matter. With such a small fleet, they clearly need our protection. We will add them to our protectorate systems." More chuckles spread through the chamber. The idea of such a tiny force trying to defend itself seemed ridiculous to them. "Should we send a diplomatic team?" Do-Won asked. Yes, the council leader said, still smiling. "Send Ambassador Jae-Hun Park. He's good with primitive species." As the council members continued to joke about Earth's cute little fleet, Do-Won noticed something on his tablet. He had been running more scans of Earth's military records. Something strange caught his eye. Success rates in their military exercises that seemed impossibly high. He opened his mouth to mention this, but Council Leader Vax was already standing up. "Meeting dismissed. Let's welcome these humans to the civilized galaxy. I'm sure they'll be grateful for our protection." Do-Won gathered his things, his mind troubled. As he walked out of the chamber, he could still hear the council members laughing and making jokes about Earth's tiny army. But something bothered him. In all his years of research, he had never seen a species with such a small fleet survive this long in space. Most civilizations built massive armadas as soon as they could. Why hadn't Earth done the same? As he headed back to his lab, Do-Won couldn't shake the feeling that they were all missing something important about these humans. But what could it be? The answer would come soon enough. And when it did, no one in the coalition would be laughing anymore. Ambassador Jae-Hun Park stood at the window of his massive diplomatic ship as it approached Earth. His vessel alone was bigger than 3 of Earth's largest military ships combined. He smiled at this thought. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth's Defense Command," his communication officer said. "Put them through," Jae-Hun replied, straightening his formal robes. A hologram appeared, showing a human in a crisp military uniform. "This is General Han Gil-Lee of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Earth space, Ambassador." Jae-Hun nodded politely. "Thank you, General. I look forward to evaluating your military capabilities for the Coalition's protection program." "We appreciate your interest," Han-Gil said with a slight smile. But Earth doesn't need protection. Jai-hun tried not to laugh. These humans were proud, despite their obvious weakness. Perhaps we should discuss this in person. I would like to see your military facilities. Of course. Please follow our escort to the lunar base. 2 small Earth ships appeared beside Jai-hun's vessel. He couldn't help but notice how tiny they looked next to his diplomatic craft. Like toys. Really. At the lunar base, Jai-hun walked with General Han-Gil through the facility. Everything was so compact. Efficient, yes, but small. Where were the massive parade grounds? The enormous fleet hangars? The endless rows of soldiers? This is our main training facility, Han-Gil explained, showing him a room where 20 soldiers were practicing combat moves. Only 20? Jai-hun asked, unable to hide his surprise. This is our elite unit, Han-Gil said. Quality over quantity, Ambassador. Jai-hun made notes on his tablet. In the coalition, a standard training group is at least 1,000 soldiers. How do you expect to defend yourself with such small numbers? We manage, Han-Gil replied simply. They continued the tour, and Ji-hun's disappointment grew. Earth's entire lunar base could fit inside a standard coalition military cafeteria. Their biggest spaceship was smaller than a coalition transport vessel. General, Jai-hun said as they entered the command center, I must be direct. Your forces are inadequate. The coalition deals with threats you cannot imagine. Pirates, space monsters, rival empires, all with massive fleets. Han-Gil listened patiently. Look at these numbers, Jai-hun continued, showing his tablet. Your total military force is 1/100th the size of a standard coalition defense fleet. 1/100th. It's adorably small. Several human officers in the command center turned to look at them. Their faces were hard to read. Ambassador, Han-Gil said calmly, size isn't everything. Would you like to observe one of our training exercises? I suppose I should, Jai-hun sighed. He had to complete his report after all. They watched from an observation room as the 20 elite soldiers ran through their exercise. Ji-hun had to admit they moved well, but still. Impressive coordination, he said politely, but how would 20 soldiers help against an invasion force of 10,000? Han-Gil's smile grew slightly wider. Would you like a demonstration? No need, Jai-hun said, checking his notes again. I've seen enough. I'll recommend immediate coalition protection for Earth. Your forces are simply too small to defend themselves. As Jai-hun turned to leave, he missed the look that passed between General Han-Gil and his officers. He also missed the incoming alert on their screens about pirate activity in a nearby sector. Back on his ship, Ji-hun began his report. Earth's military forces are insufficient for self-defense. Their entire army is smaller than a coalition training unit. Immediate protection is recommended before they attract the attention of hostile forces. He sent the report to the Coalition Council, satisfied with his assessment. These humans were clearly primitive, with their tiny army and small ships. They needed the Coalition's help, whether they knew it or not. In the lunar base behind him, General Han-Gil was making a very different kind of report. Subject shows typical Coalition arrogance. Recommendation: proceed as planned. Neither of them knew it yet, but they would both be changing their opinions very soon. Intelligence Officer Su-Min Cho sat alone in her office on the Coalition's Central Space Station. The lights were dim as she stared at her computer screen. Something wasn't right about these human combat records. Computer, show me the training exercise results again, she said, rubbing her tired eyes. Numbers and videos filled her screen. They showed Earth's small forces in various training scenarios. But the numbers made no sense. 20 soldiers completed the maze course in 2 minutes, she muttered. That's impossible. Coalition forces take at least 10 minutes with 100 soldiers. Su-Min drank her coffee and kept reading. The more she looked, the more worried she became. These humans were doing things that shouldn't be possible. She pressed a button on her desk. Connect me to Ambassador Jai-hun Park. The ambassador's face appeared on her screen. He looked annoyed at being disturbed. "What is it, Officer Cho?" "I'm busy writing my report about Earth's primitive military." "Sir, I found something strange in their combat records," Sumin said. "Their success rates are unusual." Jae-hun sighed. "Unusual how?" "Well, sir, look at this." She sent him some files. In this exercise, 5 human soldiers defeated a simulated force of 200 attackers. "Probably a malfunction in their simulation system," Jae-hun said with a wave of his hand. "But sir, there's more. Their ships move in ways our scientists say are impossible. Their soldiers think of solutions no one has ever tried before. And their victory rate is—" "Officer Cho," Jae-hun interrupted, "these are primitive people with a tiny army. The Council has already decided to protect them." End of discussion. The screen went dark. Sumin sat back in her chair, frustrated. Why wouldn't anyone listen? She opened another file. This one showed a human training exercise where they had to escape a locked room. The Coalition's best soldiers needed special tools and at least an hour to escape. The humans did it in 5 minutes with nothing but their hands and minds. "Computer, show me Earth's history," she said. Words and pictures filled her screen. Wars. Thousands of wars. Millions of battles. Countless fights for survival. "How many years of warfare?" she asked. "Humans have engaged in military conflicts for approximately 10,000 years," the computer replied. Sumin's eyes went wide. Most species in the Coalition had only fought wars for a few hundred years before joining together in peace. She looked deeper into human history. They had fought in deserts, in snow, in jungles. They had fought with sticks, with metal, with atoms. They had survived plagues, ice ages, and their own destructive weapons. "Computer, compare human survival rates to other species." The results made her sit up straight. Humans survived in conditions that killed most other species. They kept fighting when others would give up. They found ways to win when victory seemed impossible. Sumin quickly recorded a message. "Warning to Coalition Council. Human military capabilities may be severely underestimated. Recommend immediate." Her computer screen suddenly went dark. Then it lit up with a new message. "ALERT. Pirate ATAC in your 7. Coalition forces responding." Sumin looked at the attack details. A large pirate fleet was attacking a Coalition mining colony. The Coalition was sending 100 ships to help. Then she saw something else. Earth was responding too. They were sending one small squad. Sumin's heart started beating faster. This would be the first real test of human soldiers against an actual enemy. She had a feeling everyone was about to learn just how wrong they were about Earth's tiny army. She turned all her screens to the battle zone and waited. The truth about humans was about to become very clear. The Coalition Command Center buzzed with activity as reports of the pirate attack came in. 30 pirate ships were attacking the mining colony. They had already destroyed the colony's small defense fleet. "Coalition response fleet is 1 hour away," an officer announced. Commander Rix laughed when he saw Earth's response on his screen. "Look at this. The humans are sending one small ship with 6 soldiers." 6. The other officers joined in the laughter, but their amusement didn't last long. Captain Taeyang Kang sat in his small ship with his 5-person team. Their ship was a quarter the size of the smallest pirate vessel, but Taeyang wasn't worried. "Remember your training," he told his team. "We do this just like we practiced." His team nodded. They had trained for exactly this kind of situation. The pirates saw the tiny human ship approaching. "What is this?" the pirate leader asked. "Are they surrendering?" Suddenly, Taeyang's ship disappeared from their scanners. "Where did they go?" the pirate leader shouted. "Sir," one of his crew yelled, "our engine room is reporting." The transmission cut off as the first pirate ship exploded. In the Coalition Command Center, officers watched in shock. How had one tiny ship destroyed a vessel 4 times its size? Second pirate ship reporting intruders, someone shouted. Through the security cameras, they saw 5 human soldiers moving through the ship like shadows. They were faster than any soldiers the coalition had ever seen. They moved in perfect coordination, taking control of the ship in minutes. "This is impossible," Commander Rix whispered. The captured pirate ship suddenly turned and fired on 2 other pirate vessels. Its shots hit exactly where the ships were weakest. They learned the pirate ship's weak points from just one look. An officer asked in disbelief. 3 more pirate ships exploded in quick succession. The others tried to flee, but the humans had studied their engine designs. They knew exactly where to shoot. Coalition fleet arrival time. 50 minutes, the computer announced. "At this rate, there won't be any pirates left to fight," someone muttered. Captain Tai Yang's voice came over the radio. "This is Earth Strike Team 1. 16 pirate ships neutralized, moving to protect the mining colony." The command center was silent. 6 humans had done in 10 minutes what would have taken 100 coalition soldiers an hour. The remaining pirates panicked. They had never seen anything like this. Their ships were being taken down one by an enemy they could barely see. "How are they moving so fast?" Commander Rix asked, watching the humans run through another pirate ship. "How are they so strong?" In just 20 minutes it was over. 28 pirate ships destroyed or captured. 2 escaped, but their engines were damaged. They wouldn't get far. The mining colony was safe. Not a single miner had been hurt after the humans arrived. Captain Tai Yang's final report was simple. "Area secured. No casualties on our side. Request cleanup crew for debris. Strike Team 1 returning to base." In the Coalition Command Center, Commander Rix canceled the response fleet. There was nothing left for them to do. He looked at the battle records in shock. 6 humans. 6 humans had destroyed one of the largest pirate fleets in the sector. They had done it with 1 small ship and their own skills. "Send this data to Coalition Command," he ordered. "They need to see this." As the reports went out, news of the battle spread quickly. 6 human soldiers had done the impossible. And this was just the beginning. In her office, Intelligence Officer Su Min Cho watched the battle recordings again and again. She had been right about the humans, but even she hadn't expected this level of skill and power. "Computer," she said quietly, "update threat assessment of human military capabilities." The computer paused for a moment, then replied, "Error. Human capabilities exceed known parameters. Unable to calculate threat level." Su Min nodded. The Coalition would need to rethink everything they thought they knew about Earth's tiny army. Coalition analyst Yun-Hee Bai had not slept in 3 days. Her office walls were covered with videos and data from the pirate battle. She had watched Captain Tai Yang's team's attack more than 50 times. "Play it again," she said to her computer. "Slow speed." The screen showed a human soldier running up a wall, jumping off, and taking down 3 pirate guards at once. The movement was like water, smooth, fast, and unstoppable. "How is this possible?" she whispered. Her door opened. Officer Su Min Cho walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Still studying the battle?" Su Min asked, handing her a cup. Yun-Hee nodded. "Look at this. When the pirates shoot at them, the humans don't block the shots. They're already gone before the trigger is pulled. They know where the shots will go before the pirates even fire. It's called combat prediction," a new voice said. Both women turned. General Han Gil-Lee stood in the doorway. "May I come in?" he asked politely. "I think it's time we explained a few things about humans." Yun-Hee quickly cleared some chairs. The general sat down and looked at her wall of data. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years," he began. "We learned combat prediction because those who couldn't predict didn't survive." He pointed to a video of the human soldiers moving through the pirate ship. "See how they check every corner. That's from street fighting. See how they protect each other's backs. That's from jungle warfare. See how they use the ship's walls for cover? That's from urban combat. But your numbers are so small, Sumin said. Han Gil smiled. Throughout history, we learned that big armies don't always win. The smart ones win. The adaptable ones win. The ones who can think in new ways win. He stood up and walked to the wall of videos. This soldier here, he pointed, is using fighting moves from 5 different Earth martial arts. This one is using battle tactics that worked against Roman legions 2,000 years ago. Yunhee was typing everything into her computer. Your soldiers train in ancient warfare. We train in all warfare, Han Gil said. Every battle humans have ever fought taught us something new. We keep those lessons. We adapt them. We improve them. He turned to face them. Do you know why we only sent 6 soldiers against 30 pirate ships? Both women shook their heads. Because that's all we needed. Humans don't believe in using more force than necessary. We believe in using exactly the right amount of force in exactly the right way. Sumin looked at her coffee. The coalition thought you were primitive because your army was small. Yes, Han Gil said. Everyone thinks that. Until they see us fight. He walked to another screen showing Captain Tai Yang's team working together. 6 humans can be more effective than 1,000 soldiers if they're the right 6 humans in the right place at the right time. But what about bigger threats? Yunhee asked. What if someone attacks Earth with a huge fleet? Han Gil's smile grew wider. Would you like to see what happens when humans fight at full strength? When we actually need to use our full capabilities? Both women nodded eagerly. Then keep watching, he said, walking to the door. I think you'll get your chance soon. The pirates who escaped, they have friends, lots of friends, and they're not happy. After he left, Yunhee and Sumin looked at each other. We need to warn the coalition, Sumin said. Warn them about what? Yunhee asked. That they shouldn't make humans fight at full strength, because I don't think anyone is ready to see that. Outside their office, General Han Gil made a call to Earth. They're starting to understand, he said, but they still don't know everything. Should we show them? Asked the voice on the other end. Soon, Han Gil replied. Very soon. The Coalition Council meeting room was in chaos. Emergency alarms flashed on every screen. A massive invasion fleet had appeared at the edge of Coalition space. 3,000 warships. Council leader Vax shouted. The pirates brought friends from the outer systems. Ambassador Jae-hun Park watched in horror as the enemy fleet destroyed the Coalition's first line of defense. 100 Coalition ships vanished in minutes. Send in the main fleet, someone yelled. The main fleet is 3 days away, another voice answered. The room grew quiet as a new message appeared on the main screen. It was from Earth. General Han Gil's face appeared before them. We understand you have a situation, he said calmly. This isn't your concern, Council Leader Vax replied sharply. Your tiny force can't help against a fleet this size. Han Gil's expression didn't change. We're offering the help of our special forces. Commander Minho Ryu and his team are ready to deploy. The council members looked at each other. After what happened with the pirates, they weren't sure what to think about human soldiers anymore. How many ships are you offering? Vax asked. 3 ships, 30 soldiers. The room exploded with voices again. 30 soldiers against 3,000 ships. Are they insane? This is no time for jokes. Han Gil waited for quiet. We also offer the services of our military advisors. Your fleet needs to learn new tactics. Quickly. Before anyone could argue, new alarms sounded. The enemy fleet had destroyed another coalition defense post. Council leader Vax looked at the battle reports, then at Han Gil's calm face. He remembered how 6 humans had destroyed 30 pirate ships. Accept their help, he ordered. All of it. Within an hour, Commander Minho Ryu's 3 small ships arrived at Coalition Command. The human commander walked into the control room like he was going for a peaceful walk. First thing, Minho said, looking at the battle screens. Your ships are too bunched up. Spread them out. Make the enemy chase you. But our training says, a coalition officer started. Your training is wrong. Minho interrupted. Watch and learn. He spoke into his radio. Earth strike teams, begin Operation Scattered Storm. The 30 human soldiers split into 10 teams of 3. Their small ships moved so fast, they barely showed up on radar. Impossible speeds. A coalition technician shouted. Their engines will burn out. But the human ships didn't slow down. They darted between enemy vessels like insects between trees. Now, Minho said into his radio, show them what humans can do. What happened next would be talked about for years to come. The human teams targeted the enemy fleet's command ships. They didn't attack the weapons or engines. Instead, they went after the one thing the pirates didn't expect. Their communication systems. Cut off the head, the body falls. Minho explained to the amazed coalition officers. Old human saying. Very useful in battle. Within 2 hours, the massive enemy fleet was in confusion. Their ships couldn't talk to each other. They couldn't coordinate their attacks. Some ships started firing at their own allies by mistake. Now, Minho said with a smile, we teach your fleet how to fight properly. He turned to the coalition commanders. Your ships are powerful, but you use them wrong. You think like a big army. You need to think like a small army that wants to win. As the human commander explained new battle tactics, Council Leader Vax turned to Ambassador Jihan. You said their army was too small to be useful, Vax said quietly. Jihan watched as 30 human soldiers turned a sure defeat into a possible victory. Sir, he replied, I think we need to change our definition of useful. Captain Hai Jin Song stood before the coalition fleet commanders. Behind her, a large screen showed the enemy fleet's positions. The pirates had regrouped, but they were confused and angry. Your ships are strong, she said, pointing to the coalition fleet, but you fight like giants trying to catch flies. Today, I will teach you to fight like wolves. The alien commanders looked at each other, confused. What is a wolf? One asked. Hai Jin smiled. A wolf is an earth animal that hunts in packs. They take down animals 10 times their size by working together, by being smart, by being quick. She pressed a button, and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed new battle formations. See how your ships are in straight lines, she said. That's the first thing we change. Straight lines are predictable. Dead soldiers are predictable. Live soldiers are not. For the next hour, she taught them new ways to fight. The coalition commanders watched and learned as she explained tactics humans had used for thousands of years. This formation, she pointed, we used it to defeat armies on horseback. This attack pattern, from ancient sea battles, this defensive move, we learned it fighting in deep forests. Commander Minho watched from the back of the room. He spoke quietly into his radio. The coalition is learning. Begin Phase 2. Out in space, the human strike teams moved again. But this time, they didn't attack. Instead, they guided the coalition ships, showing them how to move, when to attack, how to work together. Your ships don't have to hit hard, Hai Jin explained. They have to hit smart. Hit where it hurts. Hit when the enemy doesn't expect it. A coalition officer raised his hand. But our ships are designed for direct combat. Everything can be used in new ways, Hai Jin replied. She pointed to a small maintenance ship, that vessel. In human hands, it could destroy 3 warships. How? Several commanders asked at once. Watch. She took control of a maintenance ship. It was small, weak, and had no weapons, but in her hands, it danced between enemy vessels. It sprayed repair foam into engine exhausts. It tangled communication arrays with repair cables. It used its magnetic crane to throw space debris at sensitive sensor arrays. The coalition commanders watched in amazement as one tiny ship caused chaos among the enemy. Now you try, Hai Jin said. Slowly, the coalition fleet began to change. Ships moved in new patterns. They attacked in ways the pirates had never seen. They turned their weaknesses into strengths. Don't think about what your ship is supposed to do, Hai-Jin told them. Think about what it can do. The pirates didn't know what to do. They had expected to fight a normal coalition fleet. Instead, they faced ships that moved like human vessels, attacked like human soldiers, and fought like human warriors. In the command center, analyst Yun, he watched the battle with wide eyes. They're not just teaching them to fight, she said to Officer Sumin. They're teaching them to think differently. Sumin nodded. This is why humans are dangerous. They don't just win battles. They change how battles are fought. On the main screen, they watched as coalition ships performed maneuvers that would have seemed impossible days ago. The huge enemy fleet was being taken apart by ships they used to laugh at. Send this data to Coalition High Command. Commander Minho ordered. They need to understand what's happening here. What is happening here? A coalition officer asked. Minho smiled. Evolution. You're learning what humans learned long ago. Size doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. What matters is how smart you fight, how well you adapt, and how quickly you can change. He looked at the battle display, where the coalition fleet was now fighting with human tactics. And this, he said quietly, is just the beginning. Major Jin Woo-nam stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship. Around him, alien officers watched and waited. The enemy fleet had gathered for one final attack. They still outnumber us 5-1, a coalition officer said nervously. Jin Woo nodded. Good. That makes it fair. He pressed a button on the command console. All ships, this is Major Nam. Execute Formation Thunder. The coalition fleet moved like it had never moved before. Large battleships split into small groups. Support vessels darted between them. Supply ships turned into mobile shields. Major, the ship's computer announced, enemy fleet is charging weapons. Let them, Jin Woo said calmly. Everyone remember your training. Fight like humans today. The enemy fleet fired first. Thousands of energy beams lit up space, but the coalition ships weren't where they were supposed to be. They moved like dancers, flowing around the attacks. Now, Jin Woo ordered, show them what you've learned. Coalition ships attacked from all directions. They didn't move like giant warships anymore. They moved like human fighters. Quick, unpredictable, deadly. Look at that. Officer Sumin shouted from her station. Battle Group 3 is using ancient Roman tactics. She was right. The ships had formed a wedge formation, just like Roman soldiers used to break enemy lines. But in space, it was even more effective. Battle Group 5, Jin Woo called out, begin Operation Mongol Horse. 5 coalition ships broke away from the main fleet. They pretended to retreat, drawing enemy ships after them. When the enemy ships followed, 30 more coalition vessels appeared from behind a field of space debris. The Mongols used to do that with horses, Jin Woo explained to the amazed alien officers. Pretend to run away, then surround the enemy when they chase you. In the coalition command center, Council Leader Vax watched the battle with wide eyes. They're using warfare techniques from their entire history, he said, but adapting them for space combat. Ambassador Ji-hun stood beside him. Now you understand why Earth's army is small. They don't need big numbers. They just need smart soldiers who know how to use every lesson their species has ever learned. On the flagship, Jin Woo gave more orders. Coalition ships wove through the enemy fleet like wolves through a herd. They attacked engines, weapons, and shield generators, all the weak points humans had identified. Enemy ships are breaking formation, the computer reported. They're running away, a coalition officer said with excitement. No, Jin Woo corrected. They're panicking. There's a difference. When they run away, they have a plan. When they panic, they make mistakes. He was right. The enemy ships began firing at random. Some crashed into each other trying to escape. Others got lost in the debris field. All ships, Jin Woo commanded, end this. The coalition fleet moved as one. Every ship knew its role. Every captain understood the plan. They had learned to think like humans, to fight like humans, to win like humans. The battle was over in minutes. In the aftermath, Jinwu looked at the battle display. Out of 3,000 enemy ships, none had escaped. The coalition fleet had lost only 12 ships. How? A coalition commander asked. How did we do this? Jinwu turned to face the alien officers. Because today, you didn't fight like the coalition. You didn't rely on size or numbers. You fought like humans, with your minds, with your skills, with everything you've learned. He smiled. And now you know why Earth's army is small. We don't need a big army. We just need good soldiers who know how to think. Across coalition space, the news spread quickly. The mighty pirate fleet had been destroyed. But more importantly, everyone now understood something crucial. Sometimes the smallest army could be the strongest. Because it wasn't about the size of the army. It was about how smart, how skilled, and how adaptable that army could be. 1 month after the Great Battle, the Coalition Council chamber was packed. Representatives from every coalition world had come to attend this special meeting. Ambassador Ji-hun Park stood before the council, his head bowed slightly. I wish to formally apologize, he said. I was wrong about Earth's military capabilities. Very wrong. Council leader Vax raised his hand. We were all wrong, Ambassador. That's why we're here today. General Han-Gil Lee walked into the chamber. The room fell silent. Everyone had heard about what human soldiers could do now. General, Vax said, the coalition wishes to recognize Earth as a military superpower. We also request your help in training our forces. Han-Gil smiled. We would be honored. Captain Hai-Jin has already prepared training programs for your fleet. Analyst Yun-Hee Ba stood up from her seat. If I may speak, she asked. When Vax nodded, she activated the main screen. It showed battle statistics from the past month. Coalition ships using human tactics have achieved a 300% increase in combat effectiveness, she reported. And that's just the beginning. Officer Su Min-cho added, we've also seen improvements in non-combat areas. Our rescue missions are faster. Our exploration teams are more efficient. Even our cargo ships are performing better. Commander Minho Ryu stepped forward. That's because human military thinking isn't just about fighting. It's about solving problems, about adapting, about finding better ways to do everything. In the back of the room, Major Jin Woo-nam watched quietly. He remembered how the coalition had laughed at Earth's tiny army just a few months ago. Now they wanted to learn everything they could about human military techniques. We have prepared a new training program, Han-Gil announced. Each coalition world can send their best soldiers to Earth. They will learn not just how to fight, but how to think like humans. Will they learn to be as effective as human soldiers? Someone asked. Han-Gil shook his head. No, they will learn to be effective in their own way. Humans don't want you to copy us. We want you to learn from us and create your own style. Captain Ta Yang Kang, who had led the first successful mission against the pirates, stepped forward. Every species has different strengths, he explained. The trick is to use those strengths in smart ways. Humans aren't special because we're stronger or faster. We're special because we learn to use what we have effectively. The council members nodded in understanding. Finally, they got it. Council leader Vax stood up. From this day forward, the coalition recognizes Earth as our primary military advisor. We also apologize for underestimating you. No need to apologize, Han-Gil said. Everyone underestimates humans at first. It's what they do after they learn the truth that matters. As the meeting ended, Ambassador Ji-hun approached General Han-Gil. I have one question, Ji-hun said. Why didn't you tell us about your true capabilities from the start? Han-Gil's eyes twinkled. Sometimes, Ambassador, the best way to teach a lesson is to let others learn it for themselves. Outside the council chamber, Coalition officers were already lining up to join the new training programs. They didn't care anymore that Earth's army was small. They had learned what really mattered in warfare: skill, intelligence, adaptability, and the wisdom to use them all properly. And across coalition space, a new saying began to spread: beware the small army that knows how to think big. As General Han Gil left the council chamber, he smiled to himself. The coalition had learned an important lesson, one that Earth's enemies had learned many times throughout history. Never judge an army by its size. Judge it by how smart it fights, how well it thinks, and how much it has learned from every battle in its past. Because sometimes the smallest army could teach the biggest lessons.